Hey, long time no see. Sorry for the delay. I've been out of action for about 11 days. I tripped going up some stairs and pulled some muscles in my upper back, which means that for the past week plus, I've basically just been sitting in the one comfortable spot crying like a baby. But hey, I'm all better now. I've had to repaper the table. I have scored a handful of really cool old tools. I like old tools. I like them even better if they're old tools made in the USA. Can't find stuff made in the USA hardly anymore. You got to look for it. And if you want to know where I'm finding stuff, just drop me a line. And I'll start shooting you directions to some of the directories that I keep track of to where I can buy stuff. Yeah, I've repapered all of this nice and clean, and now we're getting ready to sand the neck on the Martin acoustic bass. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about numbers. People seem to be somewhat confused about numbers. It's really fairly easy, and hopefully it will make you sound like a much smarter person than you may actually be, because that's kind of the way I do this. I'm not nearly as smart as I sound. We're going to talk about the fretboard radius. Sometimes people will call it a neck radius. It's not really a neck radius. It's a fretboard radius. And it only pertains to the fretboard, the top part of the fretboard. Not the bottom part where your thumb goes. Or if you're a monkey like me, your thumb hangs over the top of it. But where your fingers go on the top, where the frets are, or not are, in case of the Martin. So what we have to do is we've got some indentations in the fretboard that we have to sand out, but I just can't take a sanding block and sand it out because it's curved, and that's the radius we're talking about. Now, the Martin has a 15-inch radius, and here's what this is. I've got a couple of marks here on my table, and from mark to mark is 15 inches because the Martin has a 15-inch radius. What does that mean? That means that if I draw a line 15 inches long and I now draw a circle using that measurement, this is a radius block, and you'll notice here that when I put this there, the curve of the bottom of this block matches the radius of this 15-inch circle. And that's what we mean. And they can range from down in the 9 1/4 inch, 10, 13, 15, 16, just for the fretboard radius. So that's when you hear people talk about radius, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the curve on the top of the fretboard. I would say most guitar fretboards are what I call a simple radius. That means that it's 15 from the nut all the way up to the body. The curve is the same. You can get a compound radius, which means that the curve changes. I like a 10 to 13 if I'm going to play a compound neck radius. I like a 10 down here on the chord end. It's a little easier to make chords, and then when you get up into the noodling range, I like a 13 just because it's a little flatter. You can play a little faster. The people who are playing super fast screaming stuff are probably playing on pretty flat necks. So now we've kind of explained that, let's get the Martin up here and start getting those grooves out of that neck. All right, here we've got the Martin on the bench, and when you look here, there are grooves all the way up to here, and all the way down, yeah, all the way down to here. You'll notice that these grooves follow the path of the strings, and that's because when this guitar was restrung at some point in its life, it was restrung with round wound strings, which are a metal core, and they have there's a piece of wire that's wound around it, round wire, and where the round part of those strings was pressed down onto this neck year after year after year, it makes little grooves. That's why if you have a fretless bass, you play flats, flat wound strings, so that it is a flat surface that lays down here on the neck. So now what we have to do is we have to get those grooves out of the neck. So if we'll put this on top here, and let's see, I don't know if we can see on either end of that, the curve of this block traces and just conforms to the shape of this neck all the way up. There's a little bit of fall off on the edges, just a tiny bit, but yep, this is the 15. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get some sandpaper, and I'm going to start with, we're talking 800, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. That's what we're talking about. I'm going to start super fine, and if I have to get a little more aggressive, I will. But that's where we're going to start, because it's a lot easier for me to sand a little bit longer than it is for me to sand too much, because you can't bring it back. So stay tuned for sanding. I've got 1,000 grit sandpaper, and now we're just going to very slowly This is what the internet was made for. Not all that horrible stuff. Fun stuff like sanding. Isn't that nice? Just starting to get there. And we're going to 800. Well, it's progress. we're down to 600 grit. This is my third sheet. It gums the paper up really quick because of the oil in the wood. But we're close. I still see a little bit right there. There's a little there, and there's a little here. So we're close. And here we are. I used 4 sheets of 600 grit sandpaper, and then I used a quarter sheet of 800, a quarter sheet of 1000, and then I finished it off with these really cool 3M pads. This one says 1200 to 1500. They're foam, so I just put it on the radius block, just like that, and it works out really nice. So now we're just going to put a little bit of linseed oil on it. We wipe it on, we wipe it off, and no more grooves in the fretboard. Wipe it on, wipe it off. And now, as you can see, one nice, not grooved, fretless fingerboard. Ta-da! Next up, electronics. Got to put a grounding plate on the bottom of the strings, connect it up to the pickups. There's supposed to be a new set of controls coming in, but guy who owns the guitar is supposed to order that, as well as a set of flats, and then we'll be done. So there we go.